Hi everybody, welcome to Limuru Cottage Health 101. I am your host Karema, and of course, kama kawaida, this is where we get to sit down and talk about health, matters around health. Na niliwaona wengi wenyu, by the way, you commented, asanteni sana. I want to big up a few of you, wale ambao wanatufuatilia pale kwa social media. Remember, this is on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, it is Limuru Cottage all the way. Na pia unaweza nipata pale kwa social media, Lilo Karema, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Talk to us and let us know if you have questions pertaining health, tuambie. So I want to big up a few of you kabla sijakaribisha our one and only person ambaye tunakuanga naye hapa, tuna have hizi conversations pamoja. So Nyambure, I see you. Monywa Nancy, I see you. Margaret Kimani, thank you so much. There are questions that you asked. Ndakuwa naongea na daktari, alafu atakuwa na wajibu after this short break. Don't you go away. Yes, asante sana Madam Mary for joining us again. Thank you so much. Please salimia watu pale, waambie wasalimie tu alafu ndio to delve into the conversation.
Right. Karibuni sana, and once again welcome to this show, and I really hope that you get, the information, and that the information is useful. Kwa hivyo twende kazi. Okay, sawa. So I want us to go back to where we were. Kuna watu waliuliza maswali kabla hatujaingia kwa topic yetu. Today we're going to talk about motherhood. Bado hatujatoka kwa uzazini, bado tunaongelea kuhusu motherhood, but before that tutakuwa tunaangalia zile maswali zenye mliuliza pale kwa Facebook, wengine kwa Instagram. So that is what we'll handle, and then we delve into the conversation. So kuna mtu aliuliza hapa aliuliza, why does it become so painful if the milk is a lot and the baby can't breastfeed? Yes. So what happens when immediately after delivery, you remember we talked about how the milk is formed.
Yes.
So of course now the milk is getting formed and it is filling that breast, and there's a condition we call engorged breasts. And it is not a bad condition. It's just that just means that matiti imeja. And baby is supposed to be sucking out that milk. So usually that is a bit uncomfortable, because remember, before pregnancy and before delivery, the breasts are not filled with anything.
Yes.
But now there is that reflex action, and the breasts become heavy, they become full of milk, and they need to empty that milk. So that is the discomfort that actually most people experience, and most mothers experience, which is quite normal until, of course, maybe it becomes something else we call mastitis, which we'll talk about later. But engorged breasts are a normal part of the process.
Yes.
And we only just encourage mothers to keep breastfeeding frequently.
Okay.
And that's why we talk about breastfeed on demand, so that you're not so stuck on it's 3 hours. Before 3 hours and baby is awake, I can't breastfeed. You just put your baby on the breast.
Okay. So I hope Nyabura umejibiwa hilo. There's someone else who asked, what are the reasons umezaa yetu na maziwa hata kidogo for quite some time?
Now that really just depends, because again, like we were talking about, all women, everybody is capable, all mothers are capable of actually producing milk. And all you need to do is to actually fix the baby on the breast, and that stimulates the reflex action. However, we differ. Different people produce different amounts of milk.
Yes.
But towards especially the first few days after delivery, you notice that a lot of the times the mothers will produce very little milk, what we call colostrum. And sometimes mamas are worried that their babies are not getting enough, but that is completely enough. Like your baby gets about 5 ml because that's the size of their tummy
At that time.
And it keeps growing over time. But at that particular time, whatever you're producing is actually completely adequate for your baby. So sometimes mothers will sort of wanafinya wanaona so only a drop, and maybe it looks like water, and they're wondering
kwanza hiyo inakaa maji.
hii sasa ni enough.
Is it even milk?
It is so enough. Number one, it's called colostrum. It has a lot of antibodies. It has a lot of factors that protect your baby from allergies and infections. So it is so nice to actually be able to give that to your baby. So as soon as you have delivered and that's all you're seeing from your breast, but in total, it's very good. It's very good. Yeah.
Okay. So first time mothers, now you know. Now we know.
Yeah.
So let us delve into the conversation.
Yeah.
So now nimemaliza ku breastfeed. When do I really start feeding my kid? Because kuna wazazi ambao wanaanzia kupatia watoto even at 3 months chakula. When is the right time to start feeding your child?
Okay.
So let's start with that one first.
Now, we advocate for exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. And within that 6 months, if mama needs to go to work, and that's where the challenge usually comes in. Most parents, most mothers will need to go back to work, maybe if they're employed or even if they're self-employed, they need to go back after about 3 months. And so the challenge comes in because now you're wondering what are you going to do with the baby. So what we recommend is that you can express your milk and store it. You can store it in room temperature, you can store it in the fridge, you can store it in the freezer, and that milk is able to supplement what you would have given your baby maybe when you are away. So that takes care of the need to actually even supplement the baby with supplementary milk. Maybe, the milk that is commercially prepared.
Okay.
So we recommend that you actually express and store. If you store your milk in the freezer, it is able to stay up to 6 months.
6 months?
6 months when it is frozen.
If you don't remove it, put it back, remove it?
Yes. If you store it and it is completely just frozen, it can stay frozen for 6 months.
Where?
Yeah.
And for that frozen milk, if I remove it and warm it, I only give the baby once. I don't
you will not. So what we recommend is that even as you store your milk, you store it in containers such that when you have thawed that milk, you're not going to refreeze it again.
Okay.
And thawing is not putting it in a sufuria and heating it directly. It is actually putting it in warm water and letting it thaw pole pole.
Okay, so now my baby has, I may feed exclusively the 6 months.
Yes.
So what do I start feeding the child after now the 6 months?
So again, at that point when you start to wean off your baby, you want to wean them off the breast milk pole pole and start introducing solids. Now, again, a lot of mothers have different preferences.
Yeah.
But sometimes we will recommend that if, for example, you're going to start on a certain food, porridge, and maybe that's white porridge, you want to do that very slowly, and you introduce one food at a time. So if it is porridge you start with, for example, you do that maybe for a week, and just once a day for a week. And that way you're able to watch your baby, you're able to see how they react to that food. Because if you give them different foods all at once, sometimes they may even develop allergies, and then you have no idea what they're reacting to. So initially we start slowly. We start with probably a carbohydrate like uji, and then you can add a little bit of milk in it. Progressively add a little bit of mafuta, either butter or just fat. And then you can also after that 1 week you can introduce maybe a fruit. So like papaya, you can introduce maybe a banana. But whatever foods that you want to add onto your baby's diet, one type at a time, and gradually, so that baby is not overloaded with maybe egg and there's unga that's usually mixed with very many things. And usually I recommend that maybe you want to use that much later, because remember, the different foods that are put in that unga are all different in terms of how quickly they cook. So I'd rather that you first start with one type of unga and then continue like that. And there's also some unga that's usually quite fine, and that is also good and recommended, because remember also, even as you start weaning, you want to give something that is smooth, and then eventually you add on to foods that baby can now start to chew. And that comes with time. Sometimes first time babies, when they are being weaned, you'll notice that they gag a little bit, and you're worried whether they're going to choke or not. So that's why it's recommended that you give them something very smooth, that when they swallow, it just goes down.
Okay, so just to go back kidogo, there are these young babies that amenyonyeshwa na mamake, but it's like they're not getting full really, and most, like my sister experienced that, where the child was not getting enough of her milk. So what do you do at that particular point? Do you introduce food?
Depending again on age. So if the baby is not 6 months yet, sometimes what we notice in babies who are fed earlier than 6 months is that they have a lot of problems because their stomachs are not quite ready to start digesting whatever it is that you're giving them. It's only ready for human milk. In fact, babies' tummies are not ready for digesting even cow protein. It's that serious. So sometimes you find that babies get colicky, they start having issues with constipation and all sorts of things. So we really recommend that if you are going to, if for whatever reason you have to top up your breast milk, if for example you have tried to express and you don't have enough, then that's where the supplementary milk comes in, like the commercially prepared milk can come in. But we would rather avoid cow milk before baby is especially before baby is 6 months. Just avoid, because cow milk contains the protein that is in cow milk is totally different from the human milk, and sometimes babies will even end up becoming allergic. And they will start to show signs and symptoms of allergies through skin, through just being irritable. Their tummies are not quite right. They're getting bloated. They're getting colicky. So you want to avoid all that.
Okay. Okay. So now I want to talk to the women and the men.
Yes.
At the same time.
At the same time.
So now I've given birth.
Yes.
And now my man wants me to return to to the system.
Yes.
Of mafraio. When is the right time to get back? Yes.
So again, it's very important that after delivery, you as a couple talk things over, and even before delivery, during your antenatal period, these are some of the questions that we deal with, that we talk about. Ideally, we recommend that before 6 weeks, that you avoid being intimate, because before 6 weeks, especially both with cesarean section and normal delivery, things haven't quite gotten back to normal. Number one, mama has had, actually delivery is like running a marathon. It's hard.
Yes.
And mamas are dealing with so much. You're dealing with your own body, you're dealing with the little one, you want to breastfeed, and there are just so many things that are going on emotionally, physically. So we want to give you time to actually just for even your organs to go back to their pre-pregnant state. And that is around the 6 weeks. Also remember that it's also possible for you to conceive before 6 weeks.
Yes. Why?
And and we talk about starting family planning at 6 weeks when you come to clinic for the vaccinations and your baby. So you want to avoid getting pregnant because some women actually ovulate after 3 weeks before even they get their period. So it's possible for you to get pregnant within that 1 month. And it happens. We see that a lot.
Yes. So it's a bit crazy.
Yes.
So I hope mmesikia, please, guys. Pressure mingi muache.
And you see, you need to be very transparent with one another.
Yes.
And because you're both, walking this journey together, and it's really part of the whole process. So you can have all sorts of creative ways of being intimate without necessarily having sexual intercourse before the 6 weeks.
Yes.
So that you can, and your partner, I'm sure, would understand.
Yeah.
I mean, most men will understand that, and they will, just give you that time. So really, it's just one of those things that happens in life, and you carry on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on to our last question. I told you guys we don't take so much time. We try as much as possible to answer a few questions ndio tusiwa overwhelm na information. So the last question would be, now I've given birth. When is the right time to get another child? And is there a difference kwa mtu mwenye amepata mtoto na CS and this other person who's gotten a child on the normal way?
So yes, so the recommended time, even though of course different people have different preferences, maybe some will want to have their children really close together and some will want to really space them out completely.
Yeah.
But our recommendation is usually at least 12 to 18 months if you've had a normal delivery. For a cesarean section, mother, we recommend a little bit longer than that. And the reason being, first of all, when you get pregnant very, very quickly after the last pregnancy, maybe less than 12 months, you are likely to have preterm labor. You are likely to have a low birth weight baby. So the baby is very small. And of course, the smaller the baby, the more likely that, they catch infections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also, post-cesarean section, you also are paying attention to the scar.
Yes.
And if you get pregnant really, really quickly, there's also a danger that scar can actually give way. And that's why we recommend that even after delivery, maybe you have had a pregnancy and you are less than 3 years before you've, from the time you had your last cesarean section, we do not recommend that you go for a normal delivery or what we call a vaginal delivery. We are a bit hesitant to take you through that just because there's a likelihood that scar can rupture. So we want to give you at least 3 years and above to be able to say that you can actually try a normal delivery. And sometimes it's not possible. So we don't. It's not? Yes. So sometimes we may not give you a guarantee. Of course, based on why in the first place you had your first cesarean section. But if say it was because of maybe baby was a breech, and under normal circumstances you would have been able to deliver if the baby was face down, or what we call the cephalic presentation, then, we would give you an allowance and say we will try that scar.
Okay.
Maybe if it is more than 3 years. But before that, you're hesitant.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in from the beginning to the end. Kumbuka ya kwamba this is Limuru Cottage Health 101, and if you'd want to talk to us, please go to our social media platforms, pale Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, it's Limuru Cottage. You can also get me on my social media platforms, Lilo Karema, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, na pia Facebook. And if you have any questions, tutakuwa tunawajibu. Thank you. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.